We're here to talk through the Slitherlink by Grant Fikes called Antisymmetry. And it's a great puzzle that showcases how twos work near corners. So I'm going to actually start not in the easiest place in the grid, but in a good demonstrative place in the grid, which is when we have a case where a two is going to have to take either the left and bottom edge or the top and right edge in this case of these cells to get out. It always is going to use this end and this end. So we don't, without this one clue here, we wouldn't know if this two went one way or the other, but you sort of see a spot where this diagonal connection is important to understand and note. And in this case, because the one clue is there, we can mark these ends around the grid. That actually closes off this space. It puts in this 2 for sure. Mark off this 2, 0 with that known pattern. And the same thinking that applied to this 2 is now true of this 2. We've effectively now made a new corner 2. A corner 2 doesn't have to only be in the corner of a grid. It can be created in a grid during the solve. Here again, you should see that I can mark this in this way, that either the left and bottom or the top and right edge of this 2 clue will be taken by the loop. It will always now need to take this end because it can't come down, but it has 2 options on the top. It can take this or this. And notice, maybe this is helpful with the notation in the grid, if it took this top edge of the 1, it's now closed off the loop too soon. So this actually is a case where the 2 has to go like this. And seeing how the 1 is required, we actually can force this pattern in the grid. So this is a kind of pattern, if you've not seen Slitherlink before, it's useful to see here. And it's something that you'll recognize we actually have a third place in the grid. The upper right corner has another case where we can put in this kind of a diagonal too. After we see that the 1 can't use these edges, this is now a corner dot. In the same way, this was a corner dot and this became a corner dot. And so we've got to take this end and then either this or this off of that 2. The end that's coming out in this rightmost column is hitting to a 1 clue, and so that cancels these options, puts this in the grid, and moves off these cells. So now the 2 has to come like this comes in, this comes down. And so here are 2 different spots, lower left and upper right corner, where you can start by just looking at those diagonal 2s. I'm pretty sure the solve of this puzzle, though, is meant to start in the upper left, where we've got some zeros near other numbers, which gives some sure starts. A dot that's hitting into a 3 will always form this pattern, and you'll see it if you take this edge here, you'll close off the loop, so you don't take this edge. Instead, you take this path. This now is hitting another 3, which is going to force here with that 1. It's limited. We now have some loop end chasing going in the grid. We don't want these loops to close. Last corner we haven't looked at, but it's useful to look at, is down here. Here we've got these 2 ends that will always be taken around the 3. The 1 will take this edge or this edge. Notice that if this comes up the right side of the 1, it's going to quickly come to a 3. So this is going to do this and close off in itself. So a little bit of look ahead, because you can't have loop ends that join with 3s, is you've got to take this end, that puts in these, marks this into the grid, this closes off. This is a 2 that doesn't want to close down on itself, so we've got to come over this way, put this in. This loop end does not want to join to this 3 because we'll close the loop again, so these paths are gone. This path is now gone. This has to come this way. We're now hitting over to this one. Got these 2 loop ends having to pass through these 2 single 1s, so they're going to have to do that in a split way. The topmost and bottommost edges are going to be the only way you get that done. So that looks like this. That gets us over to this space in the grid. We've got this end and this end that are going to join. And this end does not want to join to this end and wants to come over to the other side of the grid. So one thing to be bad is for it to take this edge, which is then going to come down here and get stranded. So we can mark this off, mark this in. We now see we're not crossing this center space again, so we can mark off this bottom bit. That means these are the 2 ends. These are this bit. We have 2 more ends that have to cross these 2 2s without touching. So again, top, bottom, just like we had over here. This comes to here. We can't come up near the 0, so this comes there. Avoid loop closure. Only 2 options for that too. Last option to finish that, and we're through the puzzle. So a few less common patterns, but this is a case where the Tuesday puzzles may be harder for those who haven't done a lot of Slitherlink, but some good things to learn, particularly the impact of corner 2s, like this dot, this dot, this dot, as implied corner 2s were useful to see. And this is where on paper my notation is with these diagonal lines, and you can get that by turning on edge diagonal in the PenPot tools if you like having this kind of notation as well in the grid. So thanks for watching this video. Thanks for the puzzle, and we'll see you again soon.